What is up, fragrance lovers out there everywhere? Thanks for joining me on my channel, Steven Sturgill. Let's take a look at a classic banger in the game. Infamous, loved, hated, dismissed. You name it, it's probably been through all of the facets that a very successful, and I do mean extremely, maybe the most successful scent in modern history. That is Paco Rabanne's 1 million, baby. Da-da-dun, da-da-dun. This is the 200 mils bottle. Couldn't help but pick it up for, I don't know, about 68 bucks online, something like that. It's a lot of juice for very little money. Look at that bottle. Of course, it is a fingerprint magnet. I don't need to tell anyone who's owned it. And the plate, if you wiggle it around, it can sort of come off if you want to really pry it loose. Not the greatest bottle production quality. It's a good design, but it's a pretty bad. If you're into niche fragrances or high-end fragrances, you know, this is definitely not skewed that direction. I mean, it's gaudy. It's, of course, the idea is to look like a gold bar, bullion. Very kitschy, very eye-catching, whatever. Anyways, infamously successful. This, obviously, guys, is a reformulation compared to the old original that I owned way back in like 2009 or 10. Into my nose, or to my olfactive memory, it seems to have the reform seems to be not quite as sexy. It seems to have less pronounced cinnamon, and that seems to have turned up what I am detecting as coumarin, a strong coumarin or cumin note. It's one or both or the other. I'm not sure which. And it's still pretty good, but if for some reason it's not quite the ultimate sexy night in the town fragrance that I remember from around 2010 or thereabouts, or maybe '09. Not sure. Not sure if they really modified the formulation a lot or a little, or just dumbed it down, or they're using cheaper ingredient. I don't know what to think of that. Let me know if any of you guys have owned or still own the original formulation, and if you have also tried more modern reformulations. So let me know if you guys are getting anything distinctly different. It could just be the fact that I've been exposed to so many more better and more niche fragrances since then that my memory is just totally skewed. But that's the impression that I'm getting. Anyways, you're going to get warm, spicy, cinnamon, citrus, leather, amber. Supposedly there's some rose in here. I'm not getting it. Maybe, okay, maybe there's like a 1 or 2% rose, 3% maybe. It's definitely not that obvious to me. Cinnamon, again, to me is, for whatever reason, it's much drier here. And again, that coumarin note, I guess it's a mix of the Indian patchouli and the woodsy accords, whatever that means. I do get a hint of mint. It's nothing pronounced. There's a little bit of grapefruit going on here. I can definitely detect the blood mandarin and the grapefruit, but yeah, I guess they're kind of equal. Maybe a little bit more in the blood mandarin orange. The spicy notes, yeah, the leather's certainly here, but it's all fairly synthetic smelling, if you will. If you've smelled high-end niche fragrances, really nothing in here is going to smell, especially the amber. Not that amber is a real ingredient. It's mostly just, for all practical purposes, it's just an accord. But how you make these accords and or notes can vary dramatically. Even when using synthetics, guys, you can get a much better, much more realistic synthetic that's going to cost a lot more for a producer or manufacturer to make than a low entry. I'm not saying this is a low level, but it's certainly entry level compared to like niche fragrances, things like Creed by Killian, Byredo. I could go on and on and on. You get the drift. Armani's Privé line, their upper, a lot of Versace's, Ultra Uber Select line. I mean, it's even a lot more cheaper than, say, for example, Victor and Rolf's, just direct to market stuff. Chanel Allure's Own Sport. A lot of the Dior stuff is much, much pricier. And even Dior is nowhere near true niche. Are definitely not quite at any rate, like Maison Francis Kurkdjian, or some of the Tom Ford higher line stuff. Well, even Tom Ford entry level stuff for that matter. Okay, I digress. What can I say about this fragrance? Still a banger, still a compliment getter. Still smells very masculine and quite good. Although, again, it doesn't smell as good as I remember my old original bottle from way back in like 2010 or just prior to that. I will say that it gets fantastic performance. This lasts on skin 8 to 12 hours, and I got projection for up to about 8 to 9. Granted, at the 7th hour, it was very minuscule and more of a very mild, modest scent bubble. But I actually got decent projection for the first 4 to 5 hours, which is just incredible, especially for, like I said, a $70 200 mils. I mean, that's like paying $35 for a 100 mil. That's bargain basement, guys. I mean, the only thing lower than that are old discontinued frags where you can get like a bottle for, you know, 10 to 15 bucks or $20 at the most. Incredible value proposition, guys. Again, this is one that's been through several cycles, and in fact, they have 10. Well, not counting the original 1 million, they have 9 male-only flankers. Not even counting the ladies' versions, they have 9 flankers for men. Just mind-boggling. What an incredibly successful line. Noses on this, guys, if you're interested, were Christophe Renaud, Olivier Péchot, and Michael Girard. And I'm not going to go into their individual accolades. You can look that up if you want on either Base Notes or Fragrantica. I've been over most of them, their catalogs before. They're obviously incredibly well known and well respected in industry. I'm not going to argue the pros and cons of having so many noses work on one scent. I think it's a little bit yay and nay, and I think it's a little bit back and forth. I will say, guys, that to me at least, I think a lot of people are missmelling the whole bubblegum facet of this fragrance. I don't think it's really bubblegum at all. I think they're confusing elements of like the coumarin, the mint, the grapefruit, the blood orange with the rose. And there is an ambery saccharine sweetness on opening. And I think those things combining with the cinnamon give a false, but yet somewhat very realistic sort of representation of bubblegum. And I mean, it's not that dominant. It's there. But once you begin to pick apart the actual notes, at least to this nose, you realize that what you're smelling in truth is not bubblegum at all. It's a melange of notes that, interestingly enough, are quite often found in actual chewing gum, like cinnamon, like mint, other spices, and sort of gummy resinous type qualities that gum has on a natural level, along with that saccharine sweetness. But that's just my opinion. Feel free to disagree. Even grapefruit and the blood orange or blood mandarin help to give an illusion of a little bit of a fairly pronounced bubblegum smell or essence or scent. Overall, though, this is musky, very full-bodied. It's a little bit old school for all its newness. I mean, you've got that little zingy, slightly spicy, ambery sweetness. You've got some funky woods anchoring the base, along with that patchouli. A little bit of rose. I could kind of see that. I think the rose is playing into that bubblegum smell, and I think the rose comes out a little bit more on the deep dry down. Look, guys, this is a world-famous, infamously famous, hate it, leave it, love it, be neutral, however you feel. Still a banger, still a great value proposition. I agree. The reform is not as good to my memory sense, but still a hell of a fragrance if you want to get your nose wet on a all-time classic, great club level banger that is going to just push all day. Very masculine, very sensual type fragrance. Yes, it's synthetic. Yes, it's not going to smell anything like By the House of Byredo or by Killian or any of the or Xerjoff or any or Manly and Fort, but I still say it's really good for what it is. Having said all this, guys, it does sadden me to feel that I do have to agree that the 1 million Privé, I like this a lot better now. I don't know that I would say the same if I had the original before the reform, but I like this new Privé a lot better than the current reformulation of 1 million. But the 1 million is still excellent. Great scent for the fall, the winter. If you go spring or summer, I would advise fewer sprays. Be very discreet because this is a semi-fairly beast mode type fragrance. It will keep pushing even when you have long forgot about it. Other people will smell it on you. Be aware of that. I'm going to leave it at that, guys. Spray often, spray well. Live life on your terms, baby, not someone else's. And catch me on the next episode. If you like this channel, like what I'm doing, please subscribe and click the bell for future updates. Peace out. Love you guys.